Onorevole Verhofstadt per il gruppo delle Alleanze Democratiche e dei Liberali.
Thank you, President. Before coming to Brexit and to thank Michel Barnier, I take this opportunity, Jean-Claude, to tell you that your former head of cabinet yesterday has done something what nobody has done ever before here in this House, to unite the whole Parliament, the left and the right. But it's not a joke only. Maybe you have to sort this out, because you know it. I have no problem with Martin Selmayr. I think he's a very dedicated European. I think he's a very competent civil servant. No, a problem that we have is with the way the Commission handled this. And so something you have to do about this in any way, because it's bad for Europe and bad for the European Commission. But that said, it's not only we that have to sort things out, the UK also, because as you have indicated, Jean-Claude, what the problem is today is that we don't have a proposal from the UK side on the future relationship of the Union. It's still lacking. And it's true what you have said. There was this mention House speech by Mrs. May, but it is mainly repeating the red lines that we know already 2 years. And I think that in this mention House speech, what the Prime Minister did was saying, look, we cannot accept the rights of Canada and then the obligations of Norway. Well, I have to tell you, I don't think that we have ever presented that proposal to the UK side. I think that the UK side have to understand that the opposite is also not possible. You cannot have the rights of Norway and then the obligations of Canada. That's also not possible. So I think that after all the speeches we have heard now, it's time that we go beyond what I should say the slogans, the sound bites, and that is exactly what we try to do in our resolution. It's a long resolution, more than 65 paragraphs, in which we present what I should call a concept, a vision, an architecture for the future, because that is what is lacking for the moment, and then an architecture, a vision that matches both sides. The red lines of the UK on the one hand, with the vision and the principles of the European Union at the other side. And what we do in the resolution, and that's a little bit different, can I say that to the Council, that is that we use the treaty for that. Article 8 and Article 217. Article 8 and 217 were saying, look, in the neighbourhood of the European Union, there you have to create a special partnership with your neighbours, and for that we create an association with that countries. So our proposal, dear colleagues, is to start negotiations on an association agreement between the UK and the EU based on 4 pillars, one on trade and economics, one on internal security, one on thematic cooperation, for example, research, Erasmus, things like that, and finally, one on the external security, the defence matters, because that's also, I think, a very important field of cooperation between both. And for every one of these 4 pillars, what we do in this resolution is giving the principles. What are the fields where we can cooperate? What are the different principles we have to apply? And in any way, what is the advantage of our proposal? And I hope that the Council will recognise that also in the coming days. That is that we create one overall governance structure. It's not an inflation of bilateral arrangements as we have with Switzerland, who will be the good basis for that special partnership, but one overall governance based on association. And I got the possibility last week to discuss it with David Davis, also the possibility to discuss it with the Prime Minister, and I'm quite confident that also ultimately Britain will see the advantages of such an approach, to have a decent, deep association partnership from both sides. And that brings me finally to the last paragraph of our resolution, President, the rights of all citizens. Personally, it's my feeling, colleagues, that we are very near to an agreement with the UK side on the citizens' rights. In fact, respecting the rights of the citizens that live there are EU citizens, and at the opposite also respect the rights of the UK nationals living on our continent, because this is in any way something that we have to achieve. Both sides, UK nationals and EU citizens, cannot be the victim of this whole Brexit aim and outcome. Thank you.
Per il gruppo Europa della Libertà e della Democrazia Diretta, la parola all'onorevole FARAGE.
Thank you. 2/3 of the British people think the European Commission are trying to bully us in these negotiations. And of course, they're right. The EU's bullying us. It bullies member states. It bullies its next door neighbours. It even bullies the third world with its neo-colonial policies. Well, of course it does, because the Europe of the Junckers, the Barniers, the Selmayrs is power without accountability. Well, at long last, you've met your match in Donald Trump. Now, you may well scream and shout about his aluminium and steel tariffs, but the EU puts tariffs on 13,000 goods coming into it, meaning that shoes and bras and food are more expensive for simple, ordinary folk who don't understand this, because it's never been properly explained to them. And the sheer hypocrisy of criticising Trump when you already have put tariffs on steel and aluminium amazes me. But it does show the folly of us going for a transition period. It shows the utter stupidity of the Labour Party wanting to sign us up to this permanently, because in this USA dispute, we now find ourselves trapped, impotent, unable to act. We need to be free. We voted Brexit. We voted to make our own trade policy, our own trade decisions. We could do a deal with America in 48 hours. We need to act. Yes, well, just yesterday, the Trump administration were describing us as their best ally in the world. Mrs May, we did not vote for a transition period. We voted to leave this organisation. We voted to leave the customs union. We voted to leave the single market. So please, Mrs May, at this summit next week, do what Trump has done. Stand strong against the European Commission, against the unelected bullies. And bearing in mind the Italian elections, and weren't they wonderful, folks? It's pretty obvious the game is up anyway, so she'll be doing not just the British people a favour, but the whole of Europe too.
Per il gruppo Europa delle Nazioni della Libertà, la parola all'onorevole Atkinson.
Well, I agree with Nigel. This debate is rather pointless, just like Mr Gualtieri said. You know, it's like the Titanic, it's sinking very fast. The resolution is the federalist delight, and it's business as usual here. Yet all around you, Rome burns, literally. The populists are winning elections, kicking out the old guard, the very people who wrote this resolution. Across the southern EU states, there is horrifically high youth unemployment. In Italy, nearly 70% of the youth actually voted for populist parties. Yet you come up with this framework that actually just reflects the old order, not the new. However, I do detect a realisation that trying to punish the UK will damage your economies too. And when I was in America, in Washington in December, Wilbur Ross, the Secretary of State for Commerce, said to me, "Don't take that poison pill that the EU offers us if you want a trade deal with us." And my friend Nigel Farage is absolutely right. We can get a deal together in 48 hours because we're two proud trading nations. You lot haven't got a clue. You're a protectionist racket. That's what Trump told you, and that's what Wilbur Ross told you, and that's what you are.
Opinioni diverse. La parola ora all'onorevole James, non iscritta.
Good morning, Chamber. Well, you've heard from two United Kingdom speakers. You're now going to hear from a third, and a fervent Brexiteer, and one who's very, very pleased at the position the United Kingdom is taking and the fact that it's prepared to say no to the European Union, that we do not wish to continue being a vassal state. The bullies in this chamber, and there are two of them at least, I'm not going to bother to name them, they've already been named. But could they take some very clear messages back, please? One, the United Kingdom does not wish to be a vassal state, and we really take exception to being told that we should continue having the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice, that we should continue to be under the onerous single market and customs union regulations, Because, quite frankly, Brexit means Brexit. And if you want to make Brexit hard, be aware actions have consequences. And for you, European Union, the consequences will be very, very tough and very negative for you. Thank you.